A little over 30 years after India-Ukraine established diplomatic relations, an Indian Prime Minister is in Kyiv. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is on a historic visit to war-torn Ukraine. He traveled on a train from Poland to the capital, Kyiv. To talk about his visit, we are joined by Ms. Yulia Klymenko. Ms. Klymenko is the People's Deputy of Ukraine. She's a member of the Parliament. Thank you for joining us, Ms. Klymenko. Thank you so much.
Thank you for hosting me, and happy to tell you about the visit.
Right. So before anything, this is the first visit by an Indian Prime Minister to Ukraine. Prime Minister of the largest democracy of the world is in Ukraine, while Ukraine is in the middle of a war with its neighbor, Russia. Your first thoughts?
I think, first of all, it's a very good sign and a very symbolic visit. You rightly said that it's first visit of the Prime Minister for past 40 years, almost, since newly Ukrainian independence. And also, it's a good sign because, Ukrainian nation had actually was very upset about a visit of the Narendra Modi to Russia, and warm hugs and kisses with Putin, because you know that Putin started the full-scale invasion and aggression against Ukraine and killing kids, women, destroying Ukrainian cities and homes. So we were not very much happy see that your prime minister actually has such a warm relations with Russia. I think you have even inside India there were a lot of concerns about this warm relations, but we're happy to host Mr. Narendra Modi in Ukraine. I hope this visit will bring our more close relations, not only on a political level, but also on diplomatic level, on a cultural level, on a economic level, and on reconstruction of Ukraine, and many other things we can do together.
Right. Now, when the Prime Minister visited Russia, which you were also, of course, referring to, his visit to the Kremlin, miffed a lot of Ukrainians, but Ukrainians do understand that Russia and India have been friends for a very long time. So from that perspective, would you say that, now the Prime Minister has made up for that by visiting Ukraine at this point in time?
I think he's done very well that he arrived to Ukraine, showing his attitude to Ukraine, his friendship to Ukraine, because I understand that India has a very big sentiment to Soviet Union, not to Russia. Actually, Russia was a part of Soviet Union and is not inherited Soviet Union. And the Ukraine also was a part of Soviet Union. And we had a lot of different relations during the Soviet time, because a lot of Ukrainian specialists like engineers, doctors, teachers, they went to India helping building universities, particularly technical university, also to help with the healthcare system and many other things that actually we've done jointly for many years previously. So say that I cannot say that India has warm relations with Russia. India has had warm relations with Soviet Union, and Soviet Union.
But Ms. Klymenko, even after Soviet Union broke up in 15 countries, and of course Russia after that, in 1990s, after Gorbachev's perestroika and glasnost, even after that, Russia and India have maintained good relationships. So, but it was
inherited from Soviet Union. Yeah, mostly inherited by Soviet Union. But it doesn't matter at this point of time. I hope that we will have a new breeze with India, new relations, new establish many other relations, contracts, businesses, and many other things that we can, as a country, can proposed to India, and India, I think, very much interested in developing and particularly participating in the reconstruction of Ukraine. We have to admit that we have a lot of Indian students, and we had a lot of Indian students before the full-scale invasion. As I remember, for January 2022, it was 18,000 Indian students in Ukraine. So we have and had very good relations for many years. I think we just need need to develop it and make it more intense in all levels, from cultural, because a lot of Ukrainians fans of yoga, and to the economic and business relations that we can make more intense.
And some of those things are going to be on the agenda when the Prime Minister meets Zelensky, and of course, the economic ties, the reconstruction efforts, and of course the humanitarian aid which India has been sending to Ukraine all this while, that will also be discussed. So if you could tell us a little bit about what you're hearing, what are the things which are on the table, what will be discussed between President Zelensky and of course Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
I think, first of all, it will be probably peaceful efforts, peaceful plan of Narendra Modi. I hope so, because it was announced by his protocol and team. Also, I think it will be big discussions around the joint efforts on reconstruction of Ukraine, as well as maybe some security and defense issues. But it will depend on basically protocols, and I think we have to follow up this meeting in different levels, on a ministerial level, on a political level, on a business level. Also, pharmaceutical sector is on the table, because, as you know, that Indians has a lot of businesses around pharmaceutical in Ukraine. They're particularly active in Ukraine. So I hope that we will find a lot of interesting things and relations between us.
Right. And Prime Minister Modi has also been invited to address the Ukrainian Parliament.
Yes, he was, but he will not, because as I understand, he will have a very tough schedule, and he will not be able to make to the parliament. We have only half day today as a parliamentary session, so it's already over, and so we will not be able to see Mr. Modi, and he will not address the parliament this time.
All right, and now going back to the Prime Minister's visit to Russia. And the reason I'm going back to it is because Prime Minister Modi, even in the past on several occasions, has hinted and has nudged President Putin as well, that the solution to the Ukraine-Russia problem can be found only at the negotiating table. It cannot be found on the battlefield. So what is your opinion? What is the role that India can play?
I think, Prime Minister Modi, he has a very good and long relations with Putin. It's not very supportive in Ukraine about these relations, but still he has it. And he one of the few leaders who still has relations with Putin and could deliver a message to him that we are a peaceful nation, and the only one thing we want Russia troops to leave our land. And Modi is a powerful man, as one of the top leaders in the global south. I think he could deliver this message and also put pressure on Mr. Putin to stop this genocidal war, because the only person who can stop it, it's Putin, and at least Modi, as a powerful man, can deliver this message to Putin, and because the outcomes of our war, actually you can feel it in each and every corner in the world. It's about inflation, it's about supply chains, it's about the refugees, migrants, and honestly, it's a Pandora box, because many other aggressive leaders, they looking at Putin and see that they can do some bad things with their neighbors, and I don't think the world needs such an aggressive era. We need to come down and to save our world, and even don't talk about the nuclear weapon and any other big damaging things. It's a very insecure situation when people starting thinking about nuclear, starting thinking about the usage of such things. So I think we need to find a peaceful solution, but peaceful solution laying either on a battlefield or in a clear message to Mr. Putin that he needs to take out his troops out of Ukraine.
Right. Interesting that you mentioned nuclear war. You use that phrase because Russia most recently has accused Ukraine after it attacked the Kursk province that Ukraine is trying to attack the nuclear plant located on Russian soil in Kursk. And what is your response to that?
Our response very clear. We understand that at this point of time, Russia occupied our biggest nuclear plant station. So it's the biggest even in Europe. So, and the damage from this nuclear, if something will happen with this nuclear plant, will be the whole Europe will feeling it. So it's a very dangerous situation. For 2.5 years, we're asking Putin and his troops leave these nuclear plants because they cannot operate it. So they cannot operate it, but they keep it, and also they put troops inside this plant. Sometimes we see fires on this nuclear plant. Sometimes we see some blasts. It's very dangerous for the whole Europe. So what our message to Putin is, please leave it and deoccupy it so we can operate, because we know how to operate this nuclear plant, because it's connected to our system. Energy system, not to Russia energy system. So we understand in all danger from such an actions. We will never take any actions against nuclear plants on a Russian soil or territory. And at this point
So
of
you're
time,
denying the Russian claims categorically?
I deny Russian claims, and I also clearly can see what we are doing. We are doing a buffer zone, so the Russian troops cannot access Ukrainian cities and villages, because what they are doing, they are staying on the border and destroying our cities and destroying our villages, killing our kids, killing our women, killing any life on the border. So we will push them back from the border, and we need this, so to say, buffer demilitarized zone, so we can keep our villages and keep our cities, big cities like Kharkiv, where millions of people living safe and without destruction. So this is our main purpose. We are not intend to take any nuclear actions, and definitely not gonna use it against neither Russia nor Ukraine or any other country in the world.
Right. And as far as the Russia-Ukraine war is concerned, one thing which Ukraine is entirely dependent on the outside world, primarily on Europe and US, is, of course, arms and ammunitions. On that front, how are things? What are you noticing? What you've been hearing from your European and American allies?
You know that we actually got this 60 billion package from US, which will be enough, sufficient, and mostly it will go to the weaponry and to the military support. Only 8 billion will go to the budget support. So we can, I think we can sustain, and including European aid, we can sustain at least for 1-2 years with this money and ammunition. So. And we also we are paying salaries as a country. We are paying all military expenses, including salaries, soldier salaries, from our budget. It's not covered by any international help. So we expect that we will have enough, but we also, as a country, start producing a lot of weapon from the drones, as you know, sea drones, air drones, land drones. To the modern systems, including missile systems. So we are establishing our own military base. We will increase it anyhow, because we understand even if the war will end tomorrow, we will still living to the very big and aggressive country, and we need our military and defense sector to develop and protect ourselves. So this is our priority number one, and we are turning to the situation when we will produce more and more, and we have modern technologies, and we have a lot of new technologies tested on a battlefield, not on training centers and not in the offices, but on a battlefield. And we're happy to share also. I know India has tensions on their borders with also aggressive neighbors like China. So we are happy to jointly to produce and to share technologies to protect our borders against aggressive neighbors.
All right. And last couple of questions before I let you go, because you have a hard stop at 3 p.m. You have, other engagements. Is, of course, your expectations from this visit, 3 top expectations. And going forward, what role do you want India to play? What role would Ukraine like India and Prime Minister Modi to play in, of course, this conflict between Ukraine and Russia?
I think, first of all, this a very symbolic visit already happened. And we think that the further steps like Zelensky visiting India or parliamentary delegations visiting India and many other, so to say, layers of the interconnections will happen very quickly. So we're happy to proceed and to establish more relations with India. I think the visit very important in these terms. So Modi visit, it's very symbolic to start to reload our relations, so to say. And the second, we understand that Modi is a very powerful man, and we think that he could influence Putin. And this influence should be on a peaceful efforts. So I don't think that Narendra Modi is happy to stay with such disturbance in the world. Well, when many countries fighting each other, I think it's an era of peace. If it's a very of peace, then Mr. Prime Minister Modi could convince Putin to take out troops from the Ukrainian land.
Right. And before I let you go, you have a very strong India connection. If you would like to tell our viewers about that India connection, I mean, that's the note I'd like to end this interview on, because at the end of the day, we are talking about India-Ukraine relationship. And of course, we're talking about the visit of the first Indian Prime Minister to Ukraine.
Yes, I have. First of all, I am a secretary and a member of Ukraine-Indian friendship group. And I am traveling to India a lot. And I even have a big Indian family, because my daughter-in-law, she is from India, from Kerala. And we are supporting, so to say, family relations, and happy to establish it on any other level. So we are Ukrainians, I think, very similar to Indians. We are very peaceful, very democratic, and very open nations. Even Indian weddings look like Ukrainian wedding, and I think we have a lot in common. We're just too far from each other to understand it, but we need to be closer, and we have a lot in the future world to deliver.
All right. Thank you so much for taking out the time and talking to us, Ms. Klymenko. Thank you.
Thank you.